Me, it's been quite intriguing because the truth of the matter is that all I am trying to do is to tell a story. The story of where Nigerian football is currently, and also to show to them where we can be and how we can get there. And I think telling this story is not difficult for me because this is what we know, you know, and all I do is present it to the people and tell them that we have been doing this in the last 30 years and it has not taken us anywhere. We are privileged by the position we occupy today to see what is happening across 54 countries in Africa and also see what is happening across the world. And we are saying that there is a whole lot of things that we can bring in to change the stories that we have in Nigeria. And Nigeria is a very big country. We are the largest economy in Africa. The amount of things that we can do with football is unimaginable, and we are not doing anything. And I am very happy, I must say, that the responses from the various stakeholders that I have been engaging has been positive. Positive in the sense that they also acknowledge that of a truth there is a problem. And they also know that to get out of this problem is not going to be wished off. It has to be walked through, you know. And that requires some certain level of expertise and skill set that needs to be put into play. And for me, I keep saying this, that if we don't come back home with what we have learned to try and fix our country, fix our sector, which is, in my case, football, then we are not being patriotic enough. I can, of course, sit in the comfort of my office in Cairo and say, I don't care about what is going on. You know, but we feel strongly that Nigeria can do a whole lot more. And my main crux is that I believe strongly that we can build a viable football economy in Nigeria. You know, we have the talent, we have the skill sets. What is missing is just to organize ourselves, you know, and put the structures in place that we continue to generate these talents and produce them into becoming professionals that will win laurels for Nigeria, and also getting ourselves in a much more better organized way, you know, that will be appealing to other people to come and be part of our league, you know. So we cannot be running a Nigerian Football Federation in the 21st century in the manner that we run it. We are lacking in so many areas. From the grassroots developmental aspect, we have nothing to show. As we speak today, if a child wants to play football as a career, there's nowhere in Nigeria that child can go to say, I want to be registered to learn how to play football. Whereas the federation should create an opportunity for that to happen. And I'm going to tell you how we can do that. Yeah. We can do it in two ways, and we will do it in these two ways. First and foremost, we have existing structures upon which we can leverage on. Things like the Youth Fund. Okay? Youth Fund organizes competitions year-round for schools. Okay, so Nigerian Football Federation should be able to partner with Youth Fund to take over the football aspect of Youth Fund as a way of supporting. And that also means that we are getting more involved in institutional sports. We also have NUGA, NASEGA, NIPOGA. 2 weeks ago, if not 2 weeks ago to be precise, on Monday, I called a meeting of the president of NUGA, NASEGA, NIPOGA, and Youth Fund. And I shared my philosophy and strategy with them that, look, I am not coming to run a Nigerian Football Federation that will only concentrate on developing the league, playing international competitions, and that's it. No, I'm coming to run an all-inclusive football system, whereby we will be involved in institutional sports, as well as grassroots football development, as well as our leagues and our international competitions. And that I would love to partner with them. I would love to partner with them because if I do so, I'm also getting my state football associations involved. Because in every state across Nigeria, you have schools, secondary, primary. You have, in some states, university, colleges of education, polytechnics. So when these schools and institutions will be doing their preliminary games, our state football affiliates will be responsible for the organization of these preliminary football games, meaning we have created another work opportunities for them. Okay? And that means, again, we need to develop more capacity to be able to deliver these games. That means we have to train people. So when you come back again to the other aspect, which I said is still involved in grassroots football development, I'm talking about a system whereby we can adopt a good school in one local government, put the posts, put the cones, get the kits, the footballs, and also jerseys and beeps and what have you. And then we get a local coach from the local football council that will be trained by us. And his job is simply to go there every Saturday morning to train children how to play football. Imagine us having 774 centers across Nigeria, one from each local government, charged and responsible for teaching children how to play football. This on its own is another program. So that the worst that can happen is that the child will have to walk some distance to the school, but at least it is within their local government. And we are also affecting the local government by doing that. Now, when you look at the way we organize our game in our leagues, those who are responsible in the final execution of the organization of matches on behalf of the various leagues are the state football associations. Yeah. And the people who drive this process are actually the secretaries of these football associations. And I asked the question, in the last 30 years, I want to be corrected, nobody has trained this group of people on contemporary football organization.
Neglected to the background.
So if you have not trained them, how do you expect them to be able to organize football properly? So what they are doing is actually what they have inherited. And that is why we are still practicing what is being done in the 80s, which is no more in line with what is happening today. However, they are not the only people that should organize football. When you talk about a football match, it has various components. And I give examples. People come at the end of the match, the media comes down, you see them trying to interview players on the pitch, trying to interview coaches on the pitch. Why? Because it is not clear. People have not been told that there are media protocols, that you are supposed to have a post-match conference. You are supposed to have a mixed zone where at the end of the game, players will be going to their bosses and you can ask questions. So when there is no clearly defined media protocol, the journalist wants to get news, and as such, they come down to take this news. So we are supposed to train media officers that will help us to coordinate the journalists in the course of our games. We are also supposed to train general coordinators, assistant general coordinators, security officers. We are also supposed to train even marketing officers, because at the end of the day, you ask yourself, what is the product that you are selling? If you are selling football as a product, then the organization of that product must be done properly. And this is what we are bringing back. I have supported FIFA in delivering 5 different World Cups across the globe. And this is minus other several events we have done. And in my present capacity as the head of Safety and Security Department of CAF, we do events across Africa on a daily basis. And we are saying that we can do things much better. If I come back to the Secretariat of the Nigerian Football Federation, which has very competently qualified people, but again, how clearly defined are their roles? As we speak today, I would say, I make bold to say, I worked there for 11 years. We are still running a system we inherited years back, which is an analog system, where you have to take a file to a superior officer to action. If he does not sit on the seat, he will not action. Nothing will happen. However, the contemporary way of doing things, I'm staying here in Nigeria and I'm still working. Okay, I can give approval on my phone because everything has been integrated. Okay, so this is how the 21st century football federations run, and it is 24 hours. You cannot be running an NFF and you close down by 5 o'clock when countries like China are waking up, Australia is waking up, Canada is waking up, Hong Kong is waking up, and you are a member of the 211 member nations of FIFA. So how do you maximize the benefits you can get from those countries when you are sleeping here in Nigeria? So the idea is not about saying we want to run Nigerian Football Federation. I am coming to run a football federation that will compete with any football federation in the world. Any.
And this brings me back to this particular issue. Some few months back, the Minister of Youth and Sport was able to get the federal government to reclassify sports from being a recreational event to a business event. With your experience in FIFA and CAF, and having seen the kind of challenges we faced in Nigeria, where we talked about the fact that lack of fund every time we want to go for international engagement, national team not being able to go because they don't have fund, and instances where we will sign a contract, but we don't get to see jerseys. We even have to buy jerseys for our players to wear national team. And most times they will tell you they can operate without federal government. But every instance when there's no support from federal government, they complain they've not received funds. With your experience, with what you have been able to see in other countries, with the way FIFA has been able to do things, do you think it's possible for Nigeria Football Federation to be self-reliant and be able to maximize the fund to take care of the national team?
I believe strongly that if we do what we are supposed to do in the long term, Nigerian Football Federation should not only be able to generate funds for itself, should also be able to generate funds to support the ecosystem of sports in Nigeria. However, we should not rule out the fact that there is no country in the world that survives without government support. Why I say this is because if we want to host any major sports events in Nigeria today, we need government guarantee. It's one of the prerequisites before CAF can give you the hosting right. So we cannot run away from that. I am also aware that in some other countries, government gives like supports to national teams when they're actually going for national engagements, okay? Again, it comes back to few things that we need to look at. One, what is our vision for Nigerian Football Federation? What is our mission, okay? How do we plan to achieve this? It's easier for people to say we have to look for money, but I ask you, before you look for money, you must have a program. You must have done a proper costing that will now determine how much you are looking for. But if you don't do this, how do you determine what you are looking for? Everything falls back again to adequate and effective planning. It's not about how much you have in the bank account. It's about how you are able to plan towards achieving a set objective. There are certain things that you consider as wasteful. There are certain things that are unnecessary. But if you don't have a clearly defined plan, you'll see yourself running like a fire brigade trying to quench fires. We know that there are competitions coming every year. We have the calendar of CAF, we have the calendar of FIFA. So you also know what you are generating, whether rightly or wrongly, either from CAF subvention or from FIFA support or from the partners and sponsors. And you also know what you are getting from government. So the onus is for you to sit down and say, guys, this is how much we have in the pot. This is the number of programs that we are going to execute. And this is how much each of these programs is going to cost us. And then we look at the cost and, effect analysis and say, okay, we draw up a very realistic budget and then you apply. So if you don't plan well in advance, you will not even know how much is the deficit that you are looking for. And at the end of the day, the deficit may eventually fall out to be something very important, as much as paying indemnities for players. That will become a national embarrassment and even international embarrassment. So again, my responsibility as the president is to provide leadership. Leadership in terms of organization, leadership in terms of making sure that people have a clear vision of where we are going, because if we say we are running a world-class organization, then we must have a world-class calendar. We must have a source of ensuring that we implement this world-class calendar. So if we don't have this, then what are we talking about? So for me, it is more about the planning capabilities of the individuals. And again, without taking it out from my former colleagues, a lot of them also needs to be trained. So the secretariat actually needs to be trained. Because to be honest with you, I don't think in the last 15, 20 years, we've had a proper organized training for staff of Nigerian Football Federation. And this has also its ripple effect in how we are rated at the continental and world body. I give you examples. There are some responsibilities in CAF that is considered as a freelance role. The same applies to FIFA, where people are taken from various federations to do these roles during competitions and events. In Nigeria, unfortunately, we do not have enough Nigerians that are filling these roles. Why? Because we as a federation have not been doing what should be done in terms of preparing these people with the necessary capacity to be able to fit into this role. We have roles for general coordinators. We only have 2 from Nigeria. Only 1 is functioning. We have roles for assistant general coordinator. We only have 1. And recently added 1 lady who actually did the WAFCON. Okay? We have media officer roles. There is no media officer from Nigeria that is a CAF media officer? None. There's none. In all this reporting you guys are doing, there's none. So, security officer, yes, we had 4, which we brought on board when we came. 3 of them are from the secretariat. But the question is, are they allowed to do their job? We train, for example, security officers in the 20 Premier Leagues in Nigeria, amongst the other 11 countries that we did an intervention program for. The guys in Nigeria are telling me they are not allowed to function. I can show you pictures I received today from Uganda. They are already organizing steward training in Uganda leagues.
And that brings me to this issue about, when you came in, you saw me showing highlights of matches from the French League One over the weekend. And when it comes to Nigeria, it becomes difficult to get those quality content, to be able to have those leagues on TV. We have been having issues concerning not getting the TV rights sponsorship to really bring some of these matches live. And recently, so many concepts have cropped up that will die by the wayside. How important is the coverage of our league through the development of football in Nigeria?
Look, it is often said, the more eyeballs you have on your league, the more relevant your league becomes. Again, I will be more concerned in making sure that we are able to organize a football match in the right manner before I start pushing for it to be on TV. Because what you show to people is what they will take. So we must be able to organize our football well. Secondly, if you Google any Nigerian player today, there is no Nigerian player that is on any Google. We are invincible in the world. It's not a joke. We are invincible. And what does this mean? It means that we do not have an electronic system that captures the data of all the players in Nigeria. So apart from putting them on TV, you also need an electronic system so that if somebody sees number 9, he can check who is number 9 in Rivers United, and his name and profiles will come out with his biodata, and then they can follow that player. Another aspect that we are not doing properly in the country as we speak today, nobody regulates academies, football academies in Nigeria. There are proliferations of football academies across the country. This is the responsibility of the Football Federation, to make sure that we regulate this. Coaches training, in the last 5 years or thereabout, no coach in Nigeria has been trained and certified by CAF. There are some entities trying to do some certain level of coaches training at their own level. But this process should be driven by the Football Federation. As a matter of fact, the Football Federation should have a certified entry-level coaching courses that is administered by the Federation. We talk about wanting our referees to officiate in the World Cup. But that's a long dream. It's a long dream. Why? Because you cannot compare Nigeria and Morocco, for example, where week in, week out, the referees use VAR system. And then you want to have your referee use a VAR system in a CAF or a FIFA tournament. Meanwhile, your referee is not even on TV. Talk less of having a VAR system. So the consideration will always go to countries that have started implementing these systems. So if we are to build a viable football economy, all the components that has to do with the organization of football must be taken seriously. The certification of stadiums. How many of our stadiums can you watch on TV and be proud of? I tell people, I say, go to any stadium in Nigeria today. Go to the public toilets in those stadiums. You cannot use them. And you want spectators to come. Check where the spectators are sitting. They don't clean them. They only clean the VIP partially. So if we don't understand that football business talks about service, provision of service to people, which are the spectators, then we should forget about football. And part of what I tell our congressmen is that in the next few months, we may have nothing else to talk about when it comes to football in Nigeria if we don't get the right person in place. And again, I am saying to them, we can make this work by making sure that we have an all-inclusive system where everybody will be together in our football ecosystem. As you know, there are a lot of divisions. There is division among supporters group. There is division among players union. And I have been speaking with all these guys. I'm saying, if I become president, I will not run a divided house. Our football is big enough for everybody. We need to bring a united supporters group. We need to bring a united players union so that we can have a formidable team and recognize them because they are part of the stakeholders. Supporters are stakeholders in Nigerian football.
Yes.
They should be recognized. They should be part of our Congress. They should be part of the table where decisions are made. The same thing with the players. The same thing with the coaches. Not just being members of the Congress. I'm talking now. The same thing with the referees. They should have a voice when decisions are being made. You know. So, until we understand this, we will just be going around.
And that brings me back to this issue. It has to do with the 10-year master plan being introduced by the Minister of Youth. That's been signed, that's been agreed upon. What's your take on the 10-year master plan? How important is it, how vital it is for the growth of the Nigerian football?
Well, I have congratulated the Honorable Minister, Honorable Sunday Diary, when I read the master plan. I also congratulated the chairman of the committee and the members that I know. Yeah. I sent them a message to commend them. It's a very good document, and I tell you that I think most of the items in the document are not different from what any reasonable person would want to see in our football. And if I become the president, we would implement to the fullest.
So you believe in the entirety?
Of course. I have no doubt whatsoever, because what we want to see is an improved football ecosystem. And what the document is trying to tell you is that you need to get football to the grassroots, you need to get football back to the schools, you need to get football business going as a business concern, you need to improve in the organization of football, you need to improve on capacity development. And I mean, if the director of the National Bureau of Statistics that was invited by that panel to present data on football could tell the panel that unfortunately the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, does not have any data on football, it shows you that the sector is totally dead. So, I mean, and all the recommendations are recommendations, if implemented, amongst others, would help you to start having data in football. And I want to see a situation where the NBS will be called to say what is the contribution of football to the GDP of Nigeria. And they should be able to say that football is contributing XYZ amounts of money to Nigeria.
Time not really, our friend. We wish to have you talk more about this. Hopefully before the election we can have you. I know you have a whole lot of things. There are so many questions burning in my mind, but time will not permit. I just have to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Chris Emeruwa, for joining us this morning. Hopefully we can still have you talk more about this that has to do with football development. It's been quite interesting and revealing listening to him talk. He has worked in the Nigeria Football Federation, right? He works with CAF and FIFA, and he has seen the bigger picture of what Nigeria football should look like. Let's hope that the people who decide will be able to make that happen and Nigeria football can be able to grow. And that's going to be the size of the package for tonight. We have been able to keep you abreast with some interesting moments in the world of sport. My name is Oguntimei, Dolapo Oguntimei. Till I come your way, do have a lovely day.